The town celebrated Veterans Day in spite of the weather. We had a visit from a former Celtics legend, plus we checked out how the original settlers marked Thanksgiving. All of these stories and more coming up on this edition of the North Andover Journal. Hello everyone, and welcome to this Thanksgiving edition of the North Andover Journal. I'm your host, Morgan Healy. First up, this fall saw the long-awaited induction of former Celtics star Jojo White into the Basketball Hall of Fame, nearly 35 years after his retirement from the sport. Jojo visited the Stevens Memorial Library soon after with his friend and biographer, Mark Bodanza, where they talked up several of the stories in their new book, Make It Count.
This is sort of a great opportunity. This is only our second presentation since JoJo's induction to the Hall of Fame on September 11th of this year. Took a long time for JoJo to get there, but he finally did. And that was one of the themes I actually covered in the book. January of 1966, Kansas had a real significant possibility of going deep or winning the NCAA tournament. And Ted did something a little bit unique. It was his decision, of course, but he held a team meeting, and they had the team decide whether to elevate JoJo to the varsity squad or not. And the vote of the team was unanimous, and it was interesting because it was very unselfish on the part of the team, because it potentially meant at least that some of those players that voted in favor of moving JoJo up to the varsity squad were going to lose some of their playing time. They did something very unselfish, and they moved JoJo up to the varsity squad, and within a few games he was starting. Those were not easy times. JoJo can remember going to arenas where opposing cheerleaders had ape costumes on with the names of the black athletes on their backs. JoJo did in fact agree to play for the NBA, but something happened in between signing the contract not to play in the ABA and being drafted by the NBA, and that was the military draft. And because he was drafted by his St. Louis, his hometown's draft board, to go into the Army, his draft stock descended because he had a military obligation, so a team that drafted him had to worry about that. Of course, there was a war going on at the time as well. So instead of being drafted higher in the first round, there he was at number 9, which was the last pick in the draft in those years. There was only 9 teams. The Boston Celtics had won the championship the year before. No one thought they could do it, by the way, because they had a bunch of sort of geriatric players. And I can say that because Sam Jones isn't here, or Bill Russell. But they had the last pick in the draft. And as a result, the AP story the next day was not who got Jabbar and who got Neil Walk. The AP story was that Red Auerbach got an early Easter basket in the form of Jojo White.
But when you were back in that day, they just went from high school to college and played 4 years and were put in the draft, correct?
Yeah, you have to go so many years.
You'd go the 4 years.
You had to. Until Spencer Haywood came along.
Yeah.
Spencer Haywood sued.
Then it changed again.
Yeah.
You see, but at the same time, all of that is going on, the game is changing too. It's turning over like that.
Yeah.
And see, once you give the athlete that kind of money, well, why should I go to work?
Right.
I'm already being paid.
Yeah.
So what suffers is the game.
Yeah.
You see.
You can check out JoJo and Mark's discussion at the Stevens Library in its entirety on Cam Access, playing now through January. Meanwhile, North Andover is getting into the holiday spirit with Thanksgiving and the annual Santa Parade right around the corner. We stopped by the Historical Society to see the roots of our modern-day traditions here in town.
Hi, I'm Carol Majahad. I'm the director and educator here at the North Andover Historical Society. And today I'd like to welcome you to Johnson Cottage, and we're going to talk a little bit about the holiday of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is really one of my favorite holidays, but sometimes I feel today that between Halloween and Christmas, Thanksgiving is sort of ignored. But if you lived in New England during Mrs. Johnson's time, Thanksgiving would be your major holiday. there of course would still be what we still have for Thanksgiving, a really big meal. There would be a turkey, and always a wild turkey, although by this time some people were trying to raise turkeys to get a little bit more meat on them. Also, they would have lots and lots of pies. Now, in New England, your pies would be what we expect today: a pumpkin pie, an apple pie, and a mincemeat pie. You would mix it with all kinds of raisins and spices and make it into kind of a sweet, savory dessert. Apples became such a standard in people's diet because they could save them over the winter. When it comes to springtime in New England, you're pretty much out of food, so people are really using and depending on those dried apple pies. But you can imagine, after sitting in a dusty room and they didn't have screens, that they weren't everybody's favorite food. And as a matter of fact, there was a whole rhyme saying, please, no more dried apple pies. Now, spices are something else. Spices had to be bought whole. Now, I'm sure all of you have seen a nutmeg, and around Christmas time we all see a cinnamon stick, and some of us, if we make a ham, you would see the cloves. She would have a variety of different graters. You could use this for your nutmeg. You could also use this for your cinnamon stick. Well, this is Mrs. Johnson's oven. It is a brick beehive oven. You can't see the beehive, but it is behind this wall. And of course, this oven would have had a metal door and insert. Originally, the turkey would be made right in front of the fire. Earliest times, they would just use a string and they would suspend the bird, and somebody's job would be to spin it around in front of the flames. Eventually, though, they would end up with some kind of a roaster. The beauty of those is, of course, there would be a pan on the bottom that would catch all the drippings, and then you could make gravy out of it. So Thanksgiving, as we know it, was not a national holiday until 1863. A woman whose name was Sarah Josepha Hale started a campaign in her ladies' magazine as early as the 1840s, but no one would listen to her. But finally in 1863, as the war started to turn towards the Union side, Mr. Lincoln thought that celebrating a holiday that had its roots deep down back in the history of the country would be a great unifying force. I would like to invite all of you back here to Mrs. Johnson's cottage and her kitchen on Sunday, December 6th for our annual holiday open house. It takes place that afternoon between 1 and 3. We'll have a brand new exhibit in our main gallery that celebrates the 300 years of the Parson Barnard House. And of course, our cottage will be decorated in a very simple Christmas style.
Thank you, Carol. Now we'll be turning it over to our very own Lester Rugg with his edition of Senior Moments.
Hi folks, Lester Rugg here. I have to say I've been battling the leaves that seem to be falling in fall. It never fails every year. As there's a change in the weather, we're faced with this again. This month I want to say that this year, for instance, it's the 50th anniversary of the Council on Aging and the Older Americans Act. North Andover is very proud to participate in this and feel strongly about their endeavors. You know, we've been participating in a senior program for over 62 years. Not only the participants feel like it's a worthwhile experience, but all of us that volunteer feel the same way. This month seems to be a number of cancellations, but I'm going to go over the good things at any rate. We're going to have a Thanksgiving feast on from 12 to 2 p.m. on November the 19th. I hope that's still squeezed into our show, and we have an opportunity to work with this one as well. The entertainment will be the Gentlemen Songsters. we have room for over 100 participants, so sign up early, because I know that, it's always an enjoyable experience. On another note, our walking program is improving at the youth center, and we walk from 9 until 10, and in some instances we actually get there just a little bit sooner than that. We are growing. We were down pretty slim pickings there for a while. At any rate, walking is a necessary part of senior exercise. It's the least invasive and probably produces the greatest benefit. We have the Rockingham Mall trip, which will be on November the 23rd. Time will be from 12 to 12:30. That'll be the pickup time. $5 for the transportation. And on a Tuesday, we have the Tai Chi, and of course we always have the one-on-one computer training, and our art class on Tuesday from 1 to 3. That one's growing, and she's really an excellent instructor, and anyone that's interested in painting or drawing or expressing themselves, do join. I think you'd find it a heartwarming experience. I know I have. On a final note, and like all things that happen in November, may I wish you, and all of you and your family, a very special Thanksgiving. And on that note, we'll see you again next time.
And a big thanks to Lester, as always, for a great segment. Next, we have our arts and entertainment correspondents, Jennifer Anello and Molly Tanat, telling us all about some childhood classics playing here in the Merrimack Valley.
Greetings, North Andover.
Hello there.
Welcome to our arts and entertainment segment for the holidays of 2015 on the Journal, featuring all the supercalifragilistic shows going on in the Merrimack Valley. I'd like to introduce you to my special chimney sweep friend here, Bert.
And this is my good nanny friend, Miss Mary Poppins. Let's tell the good people what's going on this holiday season, shall we, Mary?
Well, first off, we have Pentucket Player's supercalifragilistic production of Mary Poppins at the Performing Arts Center at Lawrence High School on November 20th to the 22nd. Be sure to grab your umbrella and fly on over to their website at www.pentucketplayers.org to find out more about this perfectly precocious show.
Well, that is expialidocious there, Mary. Now, don't miss Acting Out Junior Performers' production of the classic fairy tale Cinderella on November 20th and the 21st. Get there before the clock strikes midnight, and I'll be sure to finish up all me chimney sweep jobs just in time to see that show. For you blokes what needs tickets and more information, you hurry on over to their website at www.actingouttheatre.com.
That sounds magnificent, Bert. I also need to tell you about Acting Out's junior performers' rendition of Once Upon a Mattress. You'll enjoy seeing if Princess Winifred really can stay awake on top of all those mattresses in this hilarious tweaking of the classic fairy tale, The Princess and the Pea. Don't miss this fun and jolly performance playing from December 3rd to the 5th at Acting Out's Daily Theatre, www.actingouttheatre.com.
Moving right along, if you want to see some fancy footwork, you step in time to see the Center for the Performing Arts holiday production of Not So Nutcracker. It'll be a lovely dance production of the classic we all know and love. They'll be cutting up that old holiday rug on December 5th at 1 and 6 p.m. at the Performing Arts Center at Lawrence High.
Next on our holiday spree is a very sweet concert by the Merrimack Valley Philharmonic on December 6th, featuring the New England Gospel Ensemble. Cellist Matthew Gagnon will also perform the famous Saint-Saëns Cello Concerto No. 1 in A minor. Now that sounds better than a spoonful of sugar, wouldn't you agree, Bert?
All right, you are, Mary. Now moving along to Spotlight Playhouse. They'll also be putting on a holiday production, which includes 2 radio shows in one, The Gift of the Magi and The Visit of St. Nick. The first 3 shows will be taking place in the evening on December 4th, 5th, 11th, and will include your supper. And then on December 13th, there will be a lunchtime show including a very special visitor. Any idea who that might be, Mary?
Why, good old St. Nicholas himself, I presume.
Right you are, Mary. And they will very likely be needing the services of a local chimney sweep in town, won't they?
Absolutely.
Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim cheree, a sweep is as lucky can be.
Bet.
Well, would you prefer, oh, it's a jolly holiday with Mary?
Well, since it is such a jolly holiday, be sure to include the ever-loved classic A Charlie Brown Christmas on your holiday calendar at Acting Out's Daily Theatre on December 12th and the 13th. All performances are just over an hour, which still leaves plenty of time for shopping, if that suits you best. Personally, I will probably be tidying up a bit, but the show does sound delightful. How about you, Bert? Are you going to tidy up?
Blimey no, Mary, I'll be going to the show. And I thought you liked me just the way I am.
Well, I do.
I know, but anyway, tickets are available now at www.actingouttheatre.com. And with their new assigned seating, you better hurry. Spots will be filling up fast, so be sure to get your tickets straight away.
Of course, Bert. You are practically perfect in every way, and I just adore you. Well, Spitspot, my tea is getting a bit cold, so that's all the time we have today.
Well, all right, Mary, what do you say? Let's go fly a kite.
Well, a very kind thank you to our North Andover viewers, and good day,
and send it. Oh, cheerio.
Hi, and welcome to this segment of the Journal. I'm Dr. Jennifer Price, the Superintendent of Schools here in North Andover. So last time I talked about my entry and what I have seen as the real strengths of this community, which were really the strength of a community that's really committed to public schools, was our RAISE initiative, and then also the incredible work of our faculty and staff within our schools. So this month I thought I'd spend a moment saying what I learned from my entry survey about what we most need to work on here in the North Andover Public Schools, and just share a little bit of that with all of you. So in the survey, 461 folks responded, and the biggest thing that really came through was some concerns around some of our academics, specifically around consistency of our curriculum, especially in our elementary schools, around some concerns, for instance, that we only have one librarian in for 5 elementary schools, and some concern around, are we really making sure that all kids are being held to high expectations? So it's an area for me to look at. It's an area for me to really think about. The second thing was, again, linked was communication. So are we communicating what we're doing? Are we communicating well? Are we communicating consistently? As you may or may not know, I started a nightly news, which is our superintendent's monthly newsletter. People have responded well to that, but just making sure that we're communicating as much as we can about what's happening in our schools, if there are issues or if there are concerns, that we have a clear and consistent approach to communication. The next part that I'd like to talk about is in terms of technology. Are we at a place where we have the technology we need to have our students be able to learn at the 21st century? It's clear that, especially until recently, we have had very limited technology within the North Andover Public Schools, and it's clear that we really need to make some changes in terms of increasing technology. We were able to do that this summer by getting 450 additional Chromebooks into our schools. Our plan is to increase that number each of the next 2 summers at about that. So our hope is, over time, we will have the technology that we really need in our classrooms for our students and our teachers. Some other issues that came up is issues around resources. We have a number of classes that are class sizes above what we would like in terms of, especially the school committee guidelines. This year, 40% of our classes in our elementary school level are running above the school committee guidelines. Our goal is to continue to reduce that number so that we have class sizes that allow our teachers to make sure that they're differentiating and supporting all kids. So these are some of the things I'm learning as part of my entry. I reported this back to the school committee. My next step is really to kind of take all of this information I've learned by talking to so many and trying to really come up with what are the most critical areas for me to focus my superintendency on. Last thing I just want to talk about is I know that the snow season is coming. And as you can imagine, this is what superintendents can get most stressed out about in terms of deciding whether or not we're going to be in school on a snow day. I don't have any news on that front other than to say I've decided to do something called the Superintendent Snow Challenge on snow days, where I'm going to be asking the students of the North Andover Public Schools District to do a challenge. And each time there will be two options and they can do one or both. There will be an academic challenge. So for instance, we've been working with Stevens Memorial Library to maybe do some type of library bingo that they can do within their home. We have some math that we're going to be asking kids to do. And there's also going to be a service challenge. So we're talking about having kids shovel their neighbors' driveways, write some cards to active military or veterans. And so the idea here is on a day where we are not in school, that the students of the North Andover Public Schools are pushing themselves academically, but also hopefully making North Andover a slightly better place in terms of their service. If you have any ideas, I'm soliciting ideas for the Superintendent Snow Challenge. Feel free to contact me via email or feel free to call. I'd love to hear any ideas that the residents of North Andover might have about what our kids could be doing on snowy days. And as always, feel free to follow me at NASUPT on Twitter, just to keep up with what's happening in the North Andover Public Schools. Thank you, and thanks for watching this segment of the Journal.
Thank you, Dr. Price. Also, for this CAM Ed update, Thompson Elementary School had a wonderful celebration in honor of our country's veterans, hosted by the Boy Scout troops of North Andover and the Lawrence Exchange Club.
Order, arm!
America is not made great by great celebrities. It's made great by great individuals, including all of you here, all of you sitting there. And part of that greatness, we feel, is passing along to the next generation the great ideas of America. There's greatness in all of us. And we think that's an important mission and one that we should say thank you for.
You can catch the entire ceremony on our CAM Ed channel. Next up, Mike Grant gave a tutorial on how to use Google Classroom, which is a popular tool in today's schools. Take a look at this.
My name is Mike Grant. I'm the Technology Director for the North Andover Public Schools. In this presentation is on Google Classroom. Basically, I'm going to go through what Google Classroom is, take about 15 minutes to kind of show you the different screens and what students see, what the teacher sees, some of the security, and how students access it, and how teachers access that. So it's a fairly simple product. It's only been around about 14 months, and it's grown and expanded in that 14 months. So it's gotten a lot more advanced than when it first came out. So Google Classroom was actually created in order to simplify the process that teachers went through to hand documents out to students electronically. So I'll go through the student view so you can see what it looks like. So when a student clicks on the screen, there's basically three tabs. what's the class about? It gives you the name of the class, some information, and there's a folder that's tied to it. Classmates, it just gives you a list of all the kids that are in your class, and the stream. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. My email is it's grantm@northandoverpublicschools.com.
Thank you so much, Mike. And if you'd like to know more, Mike's Google Classroom tutorial is also playing in its entirety on the CamEd channel. And we're turning now to our GovCam update. This year's Veterans Day ceremony was held indoors due to inclement weather, but the rain couldn't drown out the town's patriotic spirit. North Andover Cam member Steve D'Onofrio offered his coverage.
So welcome to North Andover Veterans Day ceremony. And I would like to thank you all for coming together as a community for this important time to honor our veterans.
North Andover celebrated Veterans Day this year by recognizing all who served, but especially those who served in Vietnam. The weather may have forced this year's event indoors, but the mood was both celebratory and featured a variety of recognitions to the Vietnam veterans, both present and some who were not able to make it but still remembered.
Now still serve in the United States Armed Forces.
The first proclamation was presented by Selectman Chair Tracy Watson to VFW Post Commander Lynn Spitolari and American Legion Commander Joe Ed Smith.
We owe it to ourselves and to others to emulate them in our daily lives.
This year's guest speaker should be a familiar face here in town. Longtime resident, retired fire chief, and Vietnam veteran Bill Dolan.
Those days will be the exceptions and not the rule. Many of you come here every year, and for some of you, this is your first time. I hope that you will continue to come in future years. It is these events that provide the value to your life and to the lives of those who are not with us, living and dead, who sought by their military service, in whatever capacity, to preserve this quality of life.
A special way that this program recognized its veterans was to present each of them with a special, memorable coin to thank them for their service.
I'm Ron Beck, Vietnam, 71, 72. Thank you very much for your service.
Special thanks to Ted Tripp and the entire North Andover Remembrance Committee and to Sergeant First Class Oscar Camargo, who is today's Master of Ceremonies. Thank you to all who serve our town and our country.
I'd just like to thank the men and women of this town who have served in the service, and I'd like to thank my fellow brothers. Welcome home. Welcome home.
Don't worry if you didn't have a chance to participate in this year's Remembrance program. The entire presentation is available right here on CAM. Check the CAM schedule or website for times and dates. For the Journal, I'm Steve D'Onofrio.
Also this month, we had the grand opening of the new Central Fire Station on the corner of Chickering Road and Prescott Street. Let's take a quick look at some of the highlights from the ceremony.
I just am so thrilled with the turnout that came today to cut this ribbon and open this new building. And in all honesty, the only thing I really have to say is thank you. Thank you to the taxpayers, and thank you to the people who came to town meeting when we initially voted on the facility master plan. Under the leadership of Andrew Mailer, we are plowing ahead. And again, I thank the taxpayers, and personally, I feel very lucky and very blessed to live in a community that moves forward and stays together, and we're continually looking forward. And the one thank you before I finish that I'd like to send out is to our past Chief Dolan, because this was initially your
It was the vision of the Board of Selectmen and the Facility Master Plan Committee to recognize where we need to align the services we provide with the facilities we have. It's not any more evident than in this building. We have an extremely professional, top-notch fire department. The men and women of this fire department deliver an extraordinary service every day, but we didn't provide them with all the tools. So we appreciate the work you do every day. We appreciate the families that support them. We know it's not easy work. And this facility really is emblematic of the linkage between the community's asset being human resources, being the staff, and being able to give them a facility that allows them to do their job every day. So we appreciate the work you do. This building is for you. You live there every day. Although it's been 100 years.
Be it known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to the town of North Andover in recognition of the grand opening of the Central Fire Station, and be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends its best wishes for continued success. That this citation be duly signed by the President of the Senate and attested to, and a copy thereof transmitted by the Clerk of the Senate. Congratulations.
Good morning. Good morning. Mr. Mayor has said everything I want to. He stole my thunder about a thank you to Fire Chief for retired people. A lot of people, probably too many people than I could even remember, have been involved in this project. I'm going to keep this very short. Say thank you to everybody who's been involved. Thank you to the fathers who, especially Mr. Baylor, who foresight the facility master plan and being able to push it through. That made this day possible. After we finish the ceremonial part of this, I encourage you to walk through and see this beautiful facility because it is your facility. Thank you.
The new station replaced the old headquarters at Town Hall, which was originally designed for horse-drawn buggies. That station is now closed and will become part of the new Town Hall interior renovation, where work starts next month. And finally today, we have an update from former Fire Chief Bill Dolan and the town's conservation agent, Jennifer Hughes, on the special demo project being conducted near the Stevens Estate.
Hi, I'm Bill Dolan from the Stevens Estate, and I'm here with Jen Hughes, the Conservation Commission Administrator, and we're giving you an update on the wood cutting at Stevens Estate. And it's been about 7 months now, and through the help of North Andover GovCam, we're going to be using a drone today to show you the area that was cut, so you can get a full area view area of what we did. And Jen, can I kind of explain what's happening out there? Anything you want to add, Jen?
Yeah, so the cut took place about 7 months ago, and I think you'll see both here in the shop behind us, which was the staging area for the operation, that things are coming back nicely. Lots of understory shrubs and herbaceous material. You know, as we follow this through, hopefully we'll see the regeneration we were hoping for, and lots of new native species coming in, and full establishment of the area slowly through time.
As always, if you have a news segment or story idea, please email us at thejournal@northandovercam.org. And that will wrap things up this week. Join us again next time for a recap of the North Andover Knights Thanksgiving football game, the Santa Parade, Christmas tree lighting on the Common, and a whole lot more fun. For The Journal, I'm Morgan Healy, your host. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We'll see you next Saturday, the 29th, for the Santa Parade, and of course, during our next episode in December. Happy holidays.